Hey, it looks like we're back. So, 2 podcasts in 1 week. We're breaking all kinds of records here. Had to come back because I had to make my picks for the NFL, but have a lot of corrections and additions to add. But welcome to the podcast. We're here on Wednesday, November 19th. This is the Colonel and the Kid podcast. I am your host, Greg Heitmann. And as I've said before, professionally, Gregory L. Heitmann. So if you're doing any Google searches or Amazon searches for any of my work, Gregory L. Heitmann. Heitmann. So anyway, Colonel and the Kid podcast it's inspired and based on my memoir of my grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr. And that's my mom's dad, my maternal grandfather. So this podcast is built around that memoir, and I'll be reading a chapter, and then so the memoir is the spine of the podcast, and we build out from there, and just give you what I guess what I'm considering life lessons of my grandfather's educational process for his grandchildren, including me, and just trying to share some knowledge with everyone and just go from there. Hopefully you have some laughs, some funny stories, interesting stories. Hopefully they're funny too. I guess that's one of the things that I personally enjoy the most is humor. And I guess I've talked about trying to be a stand-up comedian at certain points before, and now that I'm retired, I'm supposed to be working on some a tight 5 minutes of material so I can get to an open mic and do that. We'll see if that ever happens. But anyway, I'm already wandering off from my notes that I have here, and so let me get to the notes and say what I need to say to get going for the podcast. And it's Wednesday, November 19th, and November 19th is Garrett's birthday. So happy birthday, Garrett! I wanted to say that and get that out of the way because I made a big blunder on Monday when I had the other podcast, which was November 17th. And that was Grandpa's birthday. That would have been his 106th birthday. He was born November 17th, 1919. So I dropped the ball on that one. Didn't remember to mention that. And it never even crossed my mind until today when I was making notes about giving Garrett a shout out for his birthday. And I thought, oh yeah, Grandpa's birthday is in November. And I had to, I had to look it up and found out it's like, oh, geez, I could have mentioned that on the podcast on Monday, but forgot about that. So, Grandpa, sorry. Forgive me on that, and hopefully you had a great birthday in heaven. So, anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about Garrett's birthday too because I sent him a happy birthday text and I sent him a picture on my walk this morning in the view of to the south up by the Santa Fe High School, the walking trail that I usually walk on. And it's a really cool view. I enjoy seeing that. And there's what's known as the Ortiz Mountains in the kind of in the distance a little bit. I still call it the foreground. And then in the far distance is the Sandia Mountains, which is where Albuquerque's located. But the Ortiz Mountains, they're kind of just these jagged tooth-like mountains. And I just cannot help thinking about whenever I see those mountains and I'm out for my walk, I always think about this comic book that I read when I was a kid. This is so bizarre. It just pops into my mind. It's funny just how your brain works and you just think of certain things and how you're reminded of things. And as a kid, we had these comic books and we'd always read them for at breakfast time. We were eating cereal, and one of the comic books was it was a Walt Disney, Donald Duck, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, the nephews of Donald Duck, and I think they were like in the Cub Scouts, whatever equivalent that was for that comic, and they were doing something. They had this key by this explorer or something, and it was like this key to I don't know if it was a key to this wilderness or whatever it was, and they didn't really understand it was a giant key, and they were holding it up, looking at it, and there was an X on one of the like below the tooth of one of the keys on the key, and one of the nephews, Huey, Dewey, or Louie, don't know which one, he was holding it up, and he happened to notice in the distance that the teeth on the key, like just regular key for a lock. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to drink of water here. Already struggling with my voice early in the podcast, so this might be a rough day. So anyway, he was holding up this key, and then he notices the background that the teeth on the key match the mountains in the background. So they go exploring where that X is on the key, and they go and find this like beautiful wilderness area. There's waterfalls and rainbows, and it's just really enjoyable. And it wasn't a key to a treasure of money and gold and silver, a treasure chest. It was a key to just beauty, I guess. So that for some reason that always stuck with me. And then that image of those mountains, and maybe I can put a picture of the picture I sent to Garrett for his birthday. That's all he got. That's his gift from me for his birthday. So I just, I think that's true. I think that's one of the keys to life, just enjoying the beauty of the view that you're seeing. And I'll post that, and hopefully get some enjoyment out of that. And for Garrett, happy birthday again. And you made the story for your birthday podcast. So congratulations. And for those of you watching the podcast, which I don't think anybody does, but I'm wearing another hat today. This isn't the black hat. This is my winter cap because it's getting cooler. It's a little chillier today. Still in the 50s. So I'm not complaining. We're getting towards the end of November, and it's still in the high 50s. And I don't think it's even getting below freezing. I think we had one freeze so far here in Santa Fe. So I'm enjoying this nice fall weather we're having. But anyway, got the black beaver 3X beaver cap, and this is my George Strait type black winter cap for my cowboy hat. And just again, keep rolling with different caps and different hats I'm wearing. Go back to the coonskin cap and the cavalry hat, and yesterday or Monday's white George Strait cowboy hat. So just really kicking it with the hats lately. So I'm enjoying that. And anyway, if you want to see it on the podcast, you'll have to go to the YouTube podcast version of that. So anyway, that's it. We're rolling. We're having fun. And one of the reasons I wanted to wear the hat is because I did mention Landman, the TV show that's on Paramount Plus. And I should have expanded on that. And the Billy Bob Thornton character, it's a good show. I mean, I recommend it. And like I said, I'm going to be recommending some other shows, help you filter out some of your viewing opportunities so that you don't have to waste time looking for something to watch. Maybe I can give you some recommendations filtered by my own preferences and enjoyment. So anyway, Landman, Billy Bob Thornton, his character plays what they call landman. That's the whole setup there. The premise is he is securing rights for oil drilling in Texas. And there's all these trials and tribulations and problems of getting opportunity to drill on people's land and securing the leases, and then actually going out and drilling and managing crews and just all the problems that are going on. And it's fictionalized behind the scenes look at what happens in Texas to be able to get oil from the ground. And not only in Texas, and there's other parts of the country where there's drilling and you're extracting oil. And I hear in New Mexico, there's a lot of that's one of the biggest revenue generators for the whole state is the oil rights and on the state-owned land itself, and the royalties that it generates and goes into the coffers of the public trust, and how that funds programs and everything else. So I particularly enjoy Landman, and this is the second season. And I think I mentioned before, it's Taylor Sheridan created show, and he's been had quite the surge in his career. I think he's about my age. I think he was a minor actor in Hollywood for 20 some years, and he started writing and doing more writing, and he wrote some movies. I can't think of any can't think of some of the movies he wrote. Come Hell or High Water, I think, was one of them. It's kind of modern westerns that he was writing. And then I think one of the big breakout shows was a TV series, Yellowstone. So you're probably familiar with that. And Kevin Costner was in that show for most of the years until the last season. I think he bailed out to do his own western. But anyway, so Landman, I wanted to mention that. And that's why I wore the hat again, to describe a little more, to give you a little more background about what it is, and the Texas connection and the oil connection. So I highly recommend it. So anyway, today's chapter for the podcast reading is going to be chapter 13, and this one's called The Den. And I'll just go ahead and get that read into the record, as I like to say. And this is chapter 13, and I think I mentioned even in the first caption, in the first photo I have, that this starts to be the heart of the memoir. Probably what inspired me to even do the memoir and have a record of it. And I guess I think I mentioned last time that I just didn't want to lose the history. I mean, selfishly, from my own, in my own mind, just to put it on record so that the future generations of Heitmanns and other family members, whoever they might be, whatever last name they might end up with, because Grandpa Hagen, he was my mom's dad. He's Grandpa Hagen, and I'm a Heitmann, so we have different names, but still the grandfather relationship. And I just wanted to put that on, have a record of it, electronic record, and I have the written record and printed out record, and I don't have actually any books printed, but hopefully this will live forever on the internet, so that we can have a future a future record of everything that my grandpa helped produce, provide, educate, and provide to this family. So that's my hope. And if nothing else, give a little behind the scenes background of what I'd like to say, that how I became the way that I am, what made me the way I am, whatever you want to say, and for good or bad. This is some of the stuff that I guess I think influenced my life in in the majority of the way that I turned out. So anyway, stumbling forward, we'll just go ahead and start to read the chapter and get it entered into the record. So chapter 13 of the Colonel and the Kid memoir, The Den. And of course, we like to start out with the quote. So, quote, "Home is where the heart is," end quote. And this is from Pliny the Elder, circa 50 AD. So that's a long time ago. And Pliny the Elder, I guess he was a leader in, I don't know if he was, I should have been more clear on the backgrounds of these quotes that I gathered up. If he was Greek or Roman. I'm going to guess Roman. And, just a philosopher, leader at the time, and had this quote, "Home is where the heart is." I think if you don't know that quote, you probably missed out on some of your education, because it's a big famous saying, and I like to start with that quote because the den in my grandpa's house I think was really the heartbeat and where the heart was for the family and friends, and for my grandpa, just his place where just his refuge. And let's get to it. Let's get to the chapter. Grandpa was a man ahead of his time. He had a quote man cave decades before the term was invented. Grandpa's den might be at the top of the list of things that are synonymous with the man I knew as Grandpa. There were two dens. The first one I remember was the house in Siston, and in my mind it seems tiny, jam-packed with Grandpa's wildlife taxidermy specimens he collected over his years of hunting, even before the grandkids were born. The big whitetail trophy known as Sam had the most prominent position in the room. But more on Sam in a separate chapter. Lots of taxidermy mounts decorated the walls. A flying pheasant replicating the symbol of the South Dakota Game and Fish Parks logo, a Hungarian partridge, another pheasant mounted with just the head and chest preserved and tail feathers spread upward, framing the display. Grandpa had also harvested a trophy pronghorn, and he had that mounted. And this is where I have the first photo. And I'll read the caption, then try to describe a little bit here. This photo is probably the heart of the memoir for me. This is from Grandpa's den circa 1965. The big buck from Peaver Slough dominates the walls, known as Sam, with a classic pheasant mount and a glimpse of Grandpa's souvenirs taken from German prisoners at the end of World War II in the background. So this picture is, it's surprisingly vivid and clear from being so old, 1965 until now. I mean, that's 60 years. So it's just a great big whitetail buck mounted, and it's the photo is the deer is in profile, so you can't really see how wide the antlers are. You can see how heavy they are and see the many points on them. In the background, it's like wood paneled wall from the 60s decorations and 60s type modern lamp, I guess you would say, in the corner. And then behind the lamp, there's a pheasant that I've described as the logo that's like the logo from South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. And then he's got like a wildlife framed print of a pheasant flying up and on the wall next to the deer. And then behind everything there on the wall is some of the World War II souvenirs that my grandpa collected from the German prisoners that he was processing as the war ended. So it's really, just to me, the very formative memories I had as probably like a 5-year-old when I first saw it. I mean, these obviously I wasn't born. Maybe it's not obvious, but I wasn't born until 1969. So this is a few years before I was even born. But it never really changed that much. And I remember seeing that, or the first memories of me seeing these pictures, just is seared into my brain. I think I've said that many times with talking about this and reading these stories into the record, how things are burned in my memory or seared into the folds of my brain and stuff like that. It's just amazing to see them. And it's just, I feel lucky that these pictures are available, that I can still see them and help nourish those memories along. So on to the second picture. Got a lot of pictures in this chapter. So this is again, getting to be the heart of the memoir for me. So I'll read the caption on the picture and then I'll describe a little more detail. Opposite of Sam on the walls of Grandpa's den hangs this beautiful pronghorn buck. I love the pheasant mount surrounded by the Indian corn and tomahawk. Behind the pronghorn is another souvenir from German prisoners, a rifle hanging from a set of horns from a pronghorn. Braced by the horns of the pronghorn mount itself rests an arrow recovered by Grandpa. I wonder whatever happened to that arrow. That was in the olden days with real feather fletchings and a traditional flat broadhead, which is one blade. And now modern arrows, I think just for aerodynamics, they have multiple blades just so they fly truer. And I think back then they just didn't have that. But I remember that arrow that Grandpa had on those horns. He had put masking tape on it because those broadheads were so razor sharp. Just an accident waiting to happen if you played with that arrow or got, somehow askance with your hand or something. So it was high up enough that the kids weren't going to be able to get it, but I know Grandpa had taken precautions. So I labeled this photo again, this photo circa 1965. And to describe a little more on the photo of the pronghorn, so that rifle, um, it doesn't have a scope on it, and I always knew that rifle that it's on the it's on a little plaque. Well, it's being held up by two plaques, and the plaques have little pronghorn horns attached to them. So those are the hooks that are holding up the rifle up. And that rifle, like I said, had a scope on it as far as I remember. And I actually have that rifle here in the corner of my room right now. And it's stamped with the German markings. And I don't know, it's a classic souvenir that Grandpa somehow managed to bring home from World War II. And then on one of the hooks on the pronghorns, he's got his Black Hawk drill team hat that he wore for his drill team with the American Legion drill team. And that's hanging there behind the pronghorn mount. And then next, on either's, bordering the pronghorn mount, my grandpa's got a couple prints, framed prints of fish. Looks like a walleye on the left side, chasing some minnows, eating some minnows. And on the right side, there's looks like maybe a bass jumping out of the water. Just some small prints. They're probably only about 16 by 20 prints, not very big. And finally, there's the pheasant mount that I'd really like to get a replica of that if I could sometime. It's like a pheasant, just its chest and its head is turned to the left, and then behind it, its tail is spread up, but it's not like the full body mount of the like the logo of the South Dakota Fish and Game pheasant mount. And then framing the pheasant mount is some what I call Indian corn. I don't know if anybody else, that's how it's labeled, but some of it's red and yellow. And then one of the corn cobs is red, mostly red with some yellow interspersed. And the other one is mostly yellow with some purple or blue corn interspersed. So it's really interesting. And maybe I should try to grow some of that myself this next summer. And then on the other side of the pheasant is a little tomahawk, like an Indian tomahawk. And I wonder whatever happened to that. And I don't remember that well, but, and then next to that, you can just catch barely a glimpse of the orange curtains, the 1960s colors of the orange curtain. And again, this picture is very vivid and clear for being 60 years old. I mean, the image being 60 years old and preserved. And like I said before, I took these images from 35 millimeter slides that I used my iPhone and a little setup and some software to be able to get these images from those slides. So, and then here's another photo below that, kind of the same setup. I'll read the caption and then describe. In Grandpa's den, circa 1967, a little Christmas cheer takes place. Front and center, my mom's cousin, Dickie Hansen, and my mom's sister, Kathy, strike a pose in front of the TV. On the walls, you can catch a glimpse of the pronghorn and pheasant to the left. More gear hangs from the pronghorn in this photo, including binoculars, a camera, and Grandpa's army helmet. On the right side of the photo, you can see the display of souvenirs taken from German POWs, and there's a pistol and a dagger there. And the baby in the picture is probably my cousin Jackie Blado, Kathy's daughter, on Richard Hansen's lap. Mostly cropped from the photo is Harold, quote, Buzz Hortness, the husband of my mom's cousin Eloise. So in the photo, you can see the den displayed stuff on the walls, just the wood paneling and a big old console TV, which was probably state of the art at that time. And Dick Hansen of some people, I don't know. I don't. Maybe I should put this in the record now. Dick Hansen of Hansen Anderson basketball camps in South Dakota, famous basketball camp that started by Dick Hansen, and of course, Dick Hansen is Richard Hansen's son, and which is so it'd be my grandpa's nephew, and so Dickie Hansen, he's dressed in the perfect '60s get up there. It looks more like I don't know, just the ultimate 1960s sleeveless suit coat, maybe with a big belt on it and kind of like white, but he's got this striped, nice, fancy striped shirt. More like it's almost like a Western type style, long sleeve button up shirt. And and then Kathy, they got their arms around each other. They're posing for the camera, and she's got like the perfect '60s hairstyle, little, I don't know if you would call that a bouffant. I don't know about women's hairstyles, but I'm going to call it a bouffant. An updo, whatever. And she's got like a red long sleeve shirt on with a black vest and black pants. And it's, I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, it's just a perfect picture in my mind. And then behind them, on top of the console TV, big old floor model console TV is, on top of that TV is the aluminum small, I don't know, whatever it is, 24-inch Christmas tree. And I think I have that Christmas tree in my closet here. I'm going to be getting that set up for Christmas decorations here very soon, because it's like aluminum type strips that are attached to these just metal rods. And it's just, again, another perfect memory on my mind of how I think of Christmas and modern Christmas and modern Christmas decorations of the time when I was a kid. So anyway, I'm getting hung up on all just the nostalgia here. So let's get on to the chapter. Back to the chapter. There was the head of a lunker walleye Grandpa caught and had mounted on a plaque, mouth gaping open to display its sharp teeth. Grandpa assisted his younger brother Freddie in preparing all the mounts in the den, and I'm sure that made them even more special to him. And I had parenthetically that I'm sure that they probably would have mounted them if he hadn't done it himself or with the help of Freddie, because I'm guessing they just didn't have money to do it professionally, so they just did it themselves. And pretty good job mounting them. And I'm glad they did. So anyway, I can still picture plain as day the couch in the den below Sam. The couch was a hide-a-bed. And let me tell you, I'm not sure that 4 or 5-year-old boy could be more amazed by the fact that a bed that could be unfolded from the couch. I swear, the Transformer toys were probably inspired by a little boy that witnessed the unbelievable transformation of a couch to a bed. So I have some more photos here. I'll read the caption and describe. And this is a photo of the mounted head of one of the walleyes from the previous chapter. He'd hung on the walls of my grandpa's dens for probably 50 plus years. Look at those vicious teeth. Tell me that is not something that would fascinate a 5-year-old boy for hours on end. This is a recent photo taken at Grady's house in March of 2021, and it's this, I'll describe it here. It's got like the glassy eyes, fake eyes on there. Its mouth is, I don't know if they just salted it and preserved it and maybe painted it. And it's a huge, just vicious looking, toothy fish head mounted to looks like an arrowhead type plaque. And I think overall it's probably only about 6 to 8 inches long from the base of the arrow to the tip of the arrow. And this head, it's just the head of the fish. It's not the whole fish by any means. I think just that, with its mouth opened as wide as possible. And again, it's just classic to me to see these photos. And from there, I have a couple more photos, and I'll read the caption and then maybe go on. Photos of Transformer toys I gathered up in the last couple of years. Toys that I'm sure were inspired by the inventor seeing a hide-a-bed in action. So these are like Bumblebee and one other character in the Transformer realm of cartoons, and then later made into action movies. And the Bumblebee is like a Camaro, black and yellow Camaro that turns into a like a robot, and the other one too is a green and white like a truck, like a pickup truck type vehicle that turns into a robot itself. I don't know the names of them. I'm just not up on all that stuff. But anyway, I'm going to read a little more, and then we'll have more discussion about the couch, the hide-a-bed couch. That was the bed we slept on in Grandma's and Grandpa's crowded house full of holiday guests. Of course, hide-a-bed mattresses aren't the best, but when you're a kid, you could pretty much sleep anywhere. It was hard to sleep when you were a kid visiting grandparents with all the excitement, but I did, and it was a fantastical environment in which you try to fall asleep, and then when you do fall asleep, awaken surrounded by a strange world of taxidermy animals clinging to the walls around you the next morning. So I have 4 photos of the hide-a-bed itself, and this wasn't the exact hide-a-bed that we slept on when we were kids. This was, I think, a later one that was actually in the country house. But I'll read the caption and describe. These are photos of one of the hide-a-beds from Grandpa's and Grandma's. I came into possession of this piece of furniture about 20 years ago through my parents. The reason I even have photos of this because I sold this couch about 4 years ago via a Craigslist listing to a movie prop company based in Albuquerque. The movie business is hopping here in New Mexico, and I keep my eye out for this couch in movies or TV shows that I know are filmed in the area. So I have the first photo is just the couch itself, all the cushions on. And then there's a second photo is the couch with the cushions off, and you can kind of see that there's a handle that you grab to start pulling out the couch. And the third photo is the couch the bed is partially being pulled out of the couch. And then the final photo is you can kind of see the mattress pulled all the way out and the frame there holding it, and the mattress is kind of all warped and stuff. So you can kind of get a good idea that the mattress is probably not the best sleeping for a person, but for a kid, you know, back. You got young back and young muscles, and don't have to worry too much about where you sleep. You can sleep on the floor, on the carpet, probably be fine. So one of the things, and I'm going to add this parenthetically right into the chapter here, and I don't have this written down in the book itself, but I did sell this couch. I wanted to get rid of it because it was so heavy. It's just hard to move around, and again, they're just not comfortable to sleep on. So I didn't want to torture anybody by making them sleep on that bed in the future. So I put it on Craigslist, and I remember getting an email from some guy said, "Oh, you'll never sell that thing. Just offer it for free." And I think I had like $100 put on it. And I thought about that. His email, and it just kind of, in spite of him, I said, "No, I'm going to try to sell this." And I had that listing on there for, I don't know, may have been a year. And one day out of the blue, I get an email, and it's just says like one line, "Is the couch still available?" Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. And I replied back, "Yes," and said, "We'll take it." And it turns out, and I had it listed for $100. And so within the week, a big truck, a single axle truck, big panel truck though, pulls up in front of my house, and they come in, and I was just glad to have them remove it from my house because it was so dang heavy. And it's like, this is great. And so they got it onto a dolly, and they were hauling it out. And I remember it that they got it. The guy was telling me it was like an older guy and a younger guy, and the younger guy was basically doing it all himself. The guy was a supervisor, I guess, but the younger guy was telling me he saw I had some elk antlers in the back room there, and he said, "Oh, you hunt elk?" And I told him, "Yeah." And he said, "Listen, that's a nice set of antlers there." And he said, "Yeah, we were hunting, trying to get a cow elk, and we last year, and we came across this bull elk had fallen into a stock dam. He'd broken through the ice, and he was all struggling to get out. And so we just had cow tags, so we said we're gonna get him out of there. And we had a rope. We roped his antlers, and we had me and my buddies. We just dragged him out, and he was kind of like stunned for a while, but then he just kind of shook himself off, and he was able to walk away. So it wasn't too late to be able to save him. So that was a really good feeling to save him. Yeah, and I said, "Oh, that's great. That's some good karma. You'll probably have some good luck in the future for hunting and stuff." And so they took it out the back door of my house, and they had to take it through the backyard and through the gate, and they're going to load it up on their truck. And you know, I followed them out and was watching them load it up, and they had a little lift on the back of the truck, so they didn't have to lift it into the truck. They were just able to lower it with a motorized lift and get that in. And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, here," and he handed me $100 bill. I had completely forgotten that, I had actually sold the couch. I was going to get money for this. It was like such a treat to get actually paid to have them take it from my house. So and that couch weighed, I don't know, probably 300 pounds. So I was so happy to get that thing removed. And a great story. And later I emailed the guy. I had saved the guy's email that had said, "You'll never sell that couch." And I emailed him back, said, "Ha, in your face. I sold the couch." And I still may have that email. I have to check my files to see if I do, because that's one of my favorite stories. And I have, and again, that's the reason I have pictures of the couch being unfolded, and they made the actual memoirs, because I had pictures in the advertisement, the listing for the Craigslist listing for the couch, kind of showing in different stages of being unfolded for use. So anyway, I love that story. So anyway, back to the chapter. As I stated, there were two dens. Grandma and Grandpa relocated to the country house, and the lowest level of the split level home was mostly Grandpa's den. The second den was the den of all dens, a man cave supreme. It was something to behold, and a model I still have a desire to replicate someday. It might not happen, but I have the blueprints ready to go, sitting right in the back of my mind. A prominent feature of the den was a bar, the type of the bar you belly up to. It was a standard height bar with bar stools and everything you could imagine for a pub-style accoutrement. Behind the bar is where Grandpa's ham radio sat, in the cubby hole of shelves. The back of the bar was strictly off limits to the grandkids. The bar was on the south side of the room, and on the northwest side of the room was a wood-burning stove, and to the northeast corner was the big console television, the biggest I'd ever seen as a child. It's nothing compared to today's technological monstrosities, but for the times, it was truly amazing. The holidays always included sports on that TV, as the men relaxed in the downstairs den with a drink in hand, while the women were upstairs, tending to the victuals. I would be remiss not to mention the military paraphernalia that adorned the walls, along with bookshelves that held the Time Life simulated leather-bound Western series of books. I now have possession of those books, although I think Garrett originally had ownership of them after my grandparents downsized. Other shelves supported a collection of whiskey decanters of different subject matters, including Revolutionary War soldiers and my personal favorite, a Royal Mounted Canadian policeman. And here's another photo of the den, the country house den, and I'll read the caption. The pronghorn mount above the TV in Grandpa's den in the country house. Swords hang from another set of pronghorns above the pronghorn feet, and the pronghorn feet cradle a lever-action rifle below the mount. On a shelf between the mount and the TV, you can see several of the decanters in Grandpa's collection. So this is the nice pronghorn buck that Grandpa had. It's on a plaque, nice wooden plaque, and above it, above the pronghorn is, the set of pronghorn horns from a different buck that he shot, and he's got a sword facing in each direction, hanging from those pronghorn horns. And then on one of the pronghorn plaque horns that's holding the swords. He's got um, a mallard curly tail feather stuck in behind that. That's pretty cool to see. And then below that, below the pronghorn mount is a rifle. It's lever action rifle. I don't know whatever happened to that rifle. I really don't know anything about that. If that was a 22 caliber lever action rifle or what it was. I just have no recollection of that or where it went. I'll have to do some asking around. But anyway, in front of that, and those were some pronghorn. That rifle is being held by some mounted pronghorn feet. They're in the shape of an L, mounted on little wooden plaques, and that's like considered like the gun rack for that. And then just below that, kind of semi-blocking that, is a shelf with containing a bunch of decanters. There's like an Irish mist decanter with like an Irish soldier, I guess. And then there's a Revolutionary War soldier decanter and just a regular shaped decanter with a quail painted on it. And then there's like a duck decoy, small, maybe 1/8 size glass canvas back decoy. And then there's a really nice Ducks Unlimited redhead decoy on the shelf there. And next to that, there's 3 more decanters. And one is a Mount Rushmore decanter. It's got the image of Mount Rushmore on it. And there's another Revolutionary War soldier. And then on the far right, in front of a little bowling plaque, I don't know what that bowling plaque was recognition for, maybe a high game or something in a league. My grandpa, he bowled in a league for a long time. And the decanter right in front of that is it's Ben Franklin decanter. And I actually sold that on Craigslist too, because just trying to make some more room. I didn't have room for all this stuff. And the guy that bought it, he wanted it for the whiskey that was inside. And I'm not being the whiskey drinker. I don't know what I sold it for. I probably sold it for pennies on the dollar to him because I didn't know anything about it. But he said he had to get it tested because sometimes there could be some of those ceramic decanters had lead paint that could leach into the whiskey and kill you and poison you if you weren't careful. So anyway, that's another classic photo. And then, of course, there was still that wood paneling on the walls in the background for that era of construction. I still enjoy seeing that myself. And people might make fun of that, but too bad. I like it. And here's another photo. This is really a classic photo in my mind too. So I'll read the caption and try to describe a little more. Circa 1978, an early gathering, probably Christmas or Thanksgiving, at Grandpa and Grandma's house in the country. So here, Grandpa, Buzz, who's Richard's son-in-law, and Richard gamble at the bar in the den. Drinks, money, and cards clearly on the table. This photo was taken before Grandpa installed his ham radio equipment in that back corner behind where Buzz is standing. So in that back corner, there's just it's just wood paneling there. And eventually Grandpa cut that out. And I think that was below the staircase. So there was kind of some room there to put in his ham radio equipment. And again, that's like 1978. And Grandpa's on the left, Buzz is in the middle, and then Richard's on the right side. And you can see that. I'm just noticing now that Richard's he's got a cigarette. He's just picking up out of the ashtray there. And it's so hard for me to believe that people were still smoking inside the house at that point in that time. And there's a regular Coors can there on the bar, and looks like a tall glass of, well, a couple taller glasses of whiskey. Not much whiskey in them, but and then Richard's got maybe like a smaller tumbler. Looks like probably Coke and whiskey in it, I bet. And just this is a couple dollar bills and some silver coins for gambling. That was not like there was big time gambling, but classic 1970s wardrobe by these guys. It's kind of like this, I don't know what's that called? Velour shirt that Buzz is wearing. And my grandpa's kind of wearing a collared sweatshirt. and Richard's over there. He's got like, I think he's wearing a button up blue Oxford shirt probably, and then a vest. So I really, really dig that. And I got another photo here of, in say, circa 1979, Grandpa in his den at the country house. Of course, he's making a face for the camera as my dad tries to get a candid photo. You can partially see some of the decanters on the shelf above him. And then Dan Tungy, Kathy's second husband, sits on the couch on the left side of the photo, while the bar stools appear on the right side of the picture. So it's gonna give you a little more different angle of the downstairs den in the country house. So, and I will say that there's a shelf there with the decanters on it, but then there's like a smaller shelf type ridge, like, because the wall is like regular sheetrock above. It's almost like wainscoting paneling, probably goes up about 3.5 feet, 4 feet high. And there's enough of a lip there where you can see some smaller decanters. And way over on the left side where Dan Tungy's sitting just above his head, there's like a ship decanter. It's really cool looking, kind of smaller. And there they have oh, I guess I should mention too, it looks like the curtains are orange, but I think hanging from the curtain rod there in the den, the curtains are pulled. We're probably watching TV. Might get a glare, so the curtains are closed. But it looks like there's a duck or goose call hanging from the curtain rod there, and you can just barely make that out. I just noticed that just now, so that's kind of cool. So, and here's another photo. This is the epitome of this chapter's photo. I read the caption, and I don't know if I need to describe any more than that in the caption itself, but this is a great photo of Sam at the country house in Grandpa's den. This is the big deer Sam from Peaver Slough that Grandpa got in, I think it was 1962. More on that later. There's a whole chapter about that. I date this photo circa 1996 because right above the orange chair is a framed photo of me with my buck that I shot in 1995. What an honor to be on the wall of Grandpa's den. There's a lot to describe in this photo. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see some of the Time Life Western books up on the shelf. Right below the shelf hangs the 1987 Minnesota Twins Homer hanky. You can get a nice view of the deer feet, the gun/golf club racks. There's also a black and white photo to the left of my picture that shows Grandpa's Black Hawk drill team presenting the colors at what appears to be Minnesota Vikings football game. I'm not sure who took this photo, but whoever snapped this picture, thank you. This preserved a large chunk of valuable history for me. And yeah, I can't describe the little thing. Grandpa's got like a plant, actual live plant behind his orange chair. And then I think he's got like a framed certificate from the American Legion. I think it was probably 50 years as a member of the American Legion, kind of way on the far left side of the photo behind the light. There's kind of like a hanging lamp, hanging down there on that side. And then on the left side, well, that's on the left side, but then you go and behind the deer it's got like the front feet that are formed into like gun racks. There's a top one and a bottom one. The top one holds that German rifle that Grandpa took from prisoner from World War II. And on the bottom one, the feet gun rack/golf club rack, it holds some golf clubs, and I think they have wooden shafts. I mean, they're like old antique wooden golf club. I mean, I don't know when they stopped making those. I don't think they make them anymore. They're all steel pretty much at that time, and now they're more different polymers and graphite, whatever they're made of now. But wooden golf clubs, that's just classic to me. And then again, on the right side, the big heavy duty bookshelf, it's got those Time Life Westerns, which I'm using. I'm still, going to probably try to create some more Western novels that's sort of in my purview of what I'm thinking about. And there's a whole bunch of those books talking about the Old West in the United States, and I'm hoping they'll inspire me to get a good story out of that. And then, of course, the Homer hanky from the 1987 Twins World Series championship. I don't think the Homer hankies came about before they actually won the championship, so it turns out that they did get those turn into Homer hankies and world championship symbols. And then again, there's the picture of me, and this me, I'm kneeling down with this nice buck that I shot. It's the biggest one. I mean, at the time, it was the biggest deer I shot, and biggest, beautiful. It was a 4x4 buck, real tall and just very symmetrical, nice. And I'm all proud, kneeling down by it, holding my rifle that I used as Grandpa's rifle that he had let me use. I got my orange vest on for hunting and kneeling down there and shot it in Fulton County with Grady helping guide me. So it's really cool. I just enjoy seeing that. And the funniest thing about that was we had like a white elephant gift exchange for Christmas during that time frame, and I bought that. Oh, I printed that picture and framed it, and I was going to steal that from whoever got it, and then because I figured no one wanted it, but I would have a framed picture of my nice deer I got that year. And then, lo and behold, Grandpa got it, and he stole it from me, and he kept it. So that was, I mean, Grandpa always teasing and getting over on poor grandkids and me. What the heck was I? I was probably 26 years old then. So, an adult, and he's still getting me. So, anyway, Grandpa had that on his wall. Makes me feel pretty proud that he had it up there. So, anyway, back to the chapter. One of the coolest things Grandpa had in his taxidermy collection were deer and antelope feet surrounding the shoulder mounts that act as rifle, golf club, or sword holders. I have a few mounts of my own, but I am short on the pieces de resistance in my display. I only have one set of the crooked deer feet paired to hold items for display. I have my own items to show off now, and one of them is a sword I have used as part of my cavalry uniform to peddle books at the annual Fort System Festival. I need some more deer feet to make my wall displays really pop. And that's in reference to the previous photos, but then I have another photo here. And I'll read the caption. The taxidermy Hungarian partridge that hung in my grandpa's dens, a little worse for the wear about 70 years after it was mounted, was still available for viewing in my garage. I snapped this photo of the bird in 2021, so I have a picture of this Hungarian partridge that Grandpa had in his den, and it's moved up from the garage. I have it in my back room now. So it's still available for viewing if you ever get the chance to come on by. It's a beautiful bird, partridge. Can't help thinking of partridge in a pear tree. We're getting towards that holiday season. It's only like, what is it? Less than 40 days till Christmas. So yikes, time flies. And finally, the last photo that I have here. I'll read the caption, then describe it. Here's a photo of some of the whiskey decanters in my grandpa's collection. I took this photo in 2021. So obviously, they weren't from, this photo's not from my grandpa's house, but these are from the photos taken in the basement of my mom's house before she sold it and moved into Aberdeen and her apartment there. And so it's whiskey decanters, and it's a Royal Mounted Canadian policeman and I can't remember the judge decanter, and then there's the Civil War decanters, the North and South, Union soldier and the Confederate soldier, and the Union soldiers in his blues, and the Confederates in his gray uniform. And then there's like a decanter with a Old West robber. He's holding a shotgun in his hand. He's got a bandana over his mouth. And then on the far right of the photo, there's a 50th anniversary of the American Legion. Really a really pretty blue decanter with the sticker of military uniforms from 50 years ago, and then the modern uniform for that, and whenever their 50th anniversary was, that was probably in the 60s, I think, because maybe in the 70s, because I think the American Legion was started after World War One and continues to this day. So pretty cool. And I think I have all those decanters now in my house here, and they're not displayed. I have them in a box here. Gonna get some shelves up in the back room and put them up for the viewing pleasure. So anyway, back to the chapter, and we'll finish it off here. I don't mean to short shrift the den, but I will expand on some of the individual items in other chapters. For me, the life lesson here is what a role model can provide. Grandpa worked hard for everything he had. He had a lot of nice stuff and wasn't afraid to pay for quality. When I was a kid, I underappreciated his setup. The man cave den that he had. I look back and admire how he was able to enjoy his home and his life for many, many years in his residences, particularly the country house. At the minimum, he inspired me to want to work and, in turn, get my own things I could enjoy. If there's one message I can share to any young reader that they may be interested in such things, it is the idea of work and earning something. These are the things you will acknowledge as you get older and wiser. It just seems like human nature bends toward the values of hard-earned victories and their spoils. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And finally, at the end of the chapter, we always end it with a quote. To the victor belong the spoils. Quote, end quote. And that was a quote from New York Senator William L. Marcy, 1828. So anyway, it took a long time, a lot of little side stories on that chapter, but I got that chapter in the books and on record now, chapter 13. Lucky 13, I guess that chapter is. So hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. It just, I don't know. I'm just very nostalgic over that chapter, and I don't know. I hate to say that it's the peak. I mean, it's not like we're going downhill from there, but it really, from my childhood, that is really representative of what I think of as a grandchild in the old timer household, Colonel Hagen, and just grandpa to me, but it was just still awesome, to think about and remember. And I'm glad I have the written record, and now I have the electronic record. So, and glad you can be part of it too. So anyway, today's chapter in the books. So you people that are interested in just the chapter, you release, and we can go on with the rest of the podcast. And I do have a ways to go because I've got NFL picks to do. And I also wanted to talk about something I was checking to see if I talked about it in the transcript of Monday's podcast. And apparently I didn't, which is really weird. And I guess I just get distracted from and blabbing on about stuff and talking, and this was kind of important to me, and I forgot about talking about it. It would have been perfect for Grandpa's birthday if I would have mentioned Grandpa's birthday in that first one too. But on Monday, I finally did something that I've been thinking about or forgetting about doing for a long time. And on my little route that I walk for my my morning walk, I walked by the high school, and the baseball field had a flag that was all tattered and it was twisted around the flagpole and faded and torn and stuff. And I kept on trying to remember to call the school so that they could just take it down so it's not, displayed poorly. I mean, it'd be nice to have the flag up and have it flying, but you're supposed to have a light on it if it's out at night and stuff. And I don't think there's any lights there. So I was just hoping to get a hold of someone to have them take it down. And last Monday, I finally remembered to call the high school and got a hold of somebody, left a message saying, please, can you just take that flag down? And I really should have said, I have a flag that I would like to donate, but I didn't want to do that because if it's not lighted situation, then I don't want that to be improperly displayed. So I ended up leaving a message, and it was well, I talked to somebody first, and then they directed me to the junior ROTC leader over there, and I forgot the lady's name. She told me her name, but I forgot it because she called me back. I got transferred to her, and I left a message, and I said, "You don't need to call me back, but I just wanted to point out this situation because her junior ROTC crew is responsible for all the flags on campus." So it turns out she did call me back and said, "Well, that it technically isn't under our jurisdiction, but she did contact who it was and put in a work order to get that addressed." So I felt like I actually accomplished something in a rare situation in retirement that I actually was able to do something. And then I forgot to talk about it on Monday and give myself, break my arm, patting myself on the back for doing something, I think, productive. So anyway, I'm glad I could remember that today on Garrett's birthday, if not my grandpa's birthday. So, because of course that was um my grandpa's birthday on the 17th, but the week before it was Veterans Day. So I should have been able to put all this together and get that done properly at that time. But I didn't until this last Monday, and then I didn't give myself credit for it until today. So, yes, I'm boasting about myself here, which is very ridiculous and annoying. I'm annoying myself now. So anyway, that's that. I wanted to go on the record for that too. And I was thinking about having a new subsection of with the heading "I did something." So I actually did something that day. I think I got so involved in my other new topic that I had put together was "Look what I found." And that was going to be my new thing. And today I don't have anything for that. So today I have nothing. But I do have the verbal abuse topic today, and I'll make this one short and sweet because um, I want to get to the NFL stuff. But this came up as a topic in my Merriam-Webster's um, daily dictionary word I get, and this wasn't the word. I can't remember what the word was. I think it was serendipity was the word of the day, which is just luck or, a lucky break or lucky chance that happens to you. And I remember that because one of the reading books I had when I was in second or third grade, that was the name of the book. It was serendipity. And that was a big word back then as a little kid. I remember learning that serendipity was kind of luck. But anyway, on the aside on the word of the day was the question, is it buck naked or butt naked? And this aggravates me. So I want to go on and stop this verbal abuse. It's not butt naked. Do not say that anymore. Stop saying butt naked. It's buck naked. You're buck naked when you're totally exposed, no clothes on. You're buck naked. That's the saying. And I don't know how it got turned into butt naked, just stupid. I think it's abusive and offensive to me when people say that and I hear that. It just like hurts my ears. And I grit my teeth like, oh, stop saying that. Buck naked. And according to some of the stuff that said that it could be offensive because young Indians, young Native Americans way back when were called bucks, young bucks, and they were, they were just loincloths, I guess, in the old times and stuff. So it couldn't be somehow offensive, but it's part of history. You're just changing history and changing things for what? I mean, we can't even keep a consistent metaphor or anything like that, or any descriptive use because someone might get offended. So no, please, buck naked, not butt naked. That's just dumb. So glad I fixed that. So anyway, it's on to the NFL update for the week. Got to make my picks, and oh yeah, another drink of water because we're going long today. It seems like lots of stuff to say. So again, I think what he ended up with, um, I think I don't know if I updated the record. I think I'm 110-53 on the year. So because the other night Dallas Cowboys did beat the Raiders on Monday Night Football, and so we're on to the week 12 for the season, and I can't believe it's already week 12. It goes by so fast. It's like just unbelievable that we're almost to December. And so Thursday night game tomorrow night, Bills at Texans. And people are talking about how this game really could be a challenge for the Buffalo Bills, having to travel on short rest to get down to Texas. They have to go all the way from Buffalo to Houston to play. But the Texans are still, their starting quarterback is concussed. Last I heard, he's not playing, so they still have Davis Mills at quarterback. And he's a good backup quarterback, but hence the name backup quarterback, you're not the starter. So there's a reason you're not the starter, because you're not as good. So I really don't think the Bills are going to have the tough time that people are talking about. I think they're 4-point favorites. And again, please do not gamble. And I just picked winners. I'm not talking about points, but I'd say that they're 4-point favorites just because I heard that someplace. I'm picking the Bills to win this game easily. I think Josh Allen is pretty much unstoppable. The thing that could hurt Buffalo is their defense has a lot of injuries. They're just not playing as well as they could be. Bills are going to have to outscore everybody, seems like, for the rest of the season. So, unfortunately for the Texans, and again, wearing the cowboy hat, sorry, Houston Texans, I'm not picking you. So, Steelers at Bears. I do not like this game. I'm picking the Bears. Steelers, I'm not sure if Aaron Rodgers is playing or not, but he has a broken bone in his left wrist, non-throwing arm, so who knows what that means. You still have to take the snap, and you still have to try to hand off, still have maybe danger of getting hit or falling, and trying to embrace yourself when you're falling and get that left arm out there, and it's broken, got a broken bone, and it's still going to hurt like crazy. So going Bears, but I have no confidence in that one. Patriots at the Bengals. I think Patriots should easily be able to handle Bengals. Giants at Lions. Lions, I think, are going to just walk through that one. They have a lot of pent up frustration to take out on the Giants after that terrible game last week against the Eagles. Vikings at Packers. I do not like the trajectory of the Vikings. I'm not picking them. I would pick with my heart and take the Vikings, but I just don't see it. I think the Packers at home will handle them. I could be wrong, and this could be a tough week for me. There's multiple games here where I'm just guessing. I should whisper that. I'm just guessing. Colts at the Chiefs. No, back up. Seahawks at Titans. Again, easy for the probably one, if not the best team, top 3 team versus the worst team. Seahawks going to Tennessee. It's a long trip. I think Seahawks are just I think this could get ugly in a hurry. Colts at Chiefs. This could be one of the games of the year, potentially. I don't know. They're both, Chiefs are still on their downward trajectory. Their last grasp. I think if they don't win this game, I think you could probably count them out of the playoffs. That's what I'm going to say in this. But I'm picking them. I'm picking them to be able to hang in there, beat the Colts in an upset. I think I'm pretty sure the Colts are favored, but I think the Chiefs can win this at home and get themselves righted just enough to be able to sneak into the playoffs and maybe do some damage. We'll see. I mean, if they make the playoffs, watch out. Jets at Ravens. I heard the Ravens are favored by 14.5 points in this game. Is that possible? I'm picking the Ravens. That should be a no-brainer. Browns at Raiders. I'm picking the Raiders just because I think that the Raiders are, they have Pete Carroll as a coach. He's only one of 3 coaches to win NCAA college football championship and a Super Bowl. So I think he's going to get that ship turned around and beat the Browns, because the Browns can't score any points, even though the Browns defense is really good. This could be um, a Browns victory, but I'm going to go Raiders. Jaguars at Cardinals. This is a toss-up. I mean, if you were to pick the usual pattern, you'd pick the Cardinals, because Jaguars seem like they lose every other game. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. But I think the Jaguars, coming off their momentum from just thrashing the Chargers, I think the Jags are gonna. I think they're gonna handle Cardinals fairly easily. Oh well. Eagles at Cowboys. I think this is the trap game of the week. Mark it down. The Cowboys will probably win this game. I'm not picking them. I'm not falling into that trap of the trap. I'm still just getting caught in the regular trap of picking the Eagles. I think the Eagles, if they stick with their game plan, just run the ball against the Cowboys. Cowboys have shored up their defense, supposedly. Cowboys beat the Raiders pretty good on Monday night, but don't be fooled. They're not a good team. So I think the Eagles are going to be able to go into the Cowboys stadium there, whatever that is, AT&T Stadium, and really, really hurt the feelings of the Cowboys fans and Jerry Jones, which, again, I'm wearing a cowboy hat. Sorry, Dallas Cowboys. I'm not picking you, Eagles. Falcons at Saints. I'm just picking Falcons because Kirk Cousins is going to start at quarterback. Michael Penix Jr. out for the year with a knee injury. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he was really NFL talent to begin with. Maybe, I don't know. I could be wrong. Probably I'm wrong. But he's out, and he's had, I think this is his third major knee injury in his football career, from college now into the NFL. So good luck. Good luck to him. But I think Falcons, I'm picking them. I don't have any confidence in that. So Buccaneers at the Rams, tough. This is the Football Night in America game. This is the Sunday night game on NBC, the showcase for football. I think if you look at the top, I think I talked about this, the top 100 shows, 100 TV shows for the year. I think in the top 20, it's usually all the Sunday night football games get the most viewers. And I think there'll be a lot of viewers watching this. This could be a good game. I think the Rams defense is highly underrated, and underrated overall, because they have Matthew Stafford at quarterback, Puka Nacua, Devonta Adams on offense, Sean McVay, an offensive, supposed genius. But I think their defense is secretly, winning them all their games. Rams, I would rate the Rams as the number one team in my power rating for the teams at this point in the year. So I don't like to say that, but it is what it is. And then on Monday night game, excuse me, Panthers at 49ers. Tough to go out to play in San Francisco. It's just a tough place to go, travel out there. And I'm picking 49ers. Brock Purdy's back. I don't know if he's just got some magic. I really don't think he's that great. They paid him a lot of money, and I think he's in the top 50% of the quarterbacks in the league, but I don't think he's nowhere near in that realm of the top those elite 7 or 8 guys that are out there. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford. Those guys, I mean, to talk like Brock Purdy is in the same salary status as those guys, that's just foolishness in my mind. So there you have it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, really 4 games that are just complete guesses for me. Only 14 games this week. Makes it tough on me to try to get back to my 70%, 67% picking 2 out of 3 right every time. That's, I shouldn't complain, but I do because my goal is 70%. You always just strive, Kaizen, strive to get better. I'm not doing it. But the bye teams this week: Broncos, Chargers, Redskins, and Dolphins. So those teams, 2 less games, only 14 games. I don't like that. I wish there was more games, but that's it. That's it for the football update and preview. And going a little longer, and I wanted to just I did want to hit a couple things with my continuing on. I have this ongoing. I have my Long Hollow poster still up. Here's the book. Still marketing that, trying to sell copies of that, and don't have a copy. Go out and get one. Amazon, just Google it, you'll find it. Long Hollow. I just get a kick out of holding this up and see how white this is and how sun faded that poster is from hanging hanging in the sun so long. But then I wanted to show this one and maybe just mention this this is the Buffalo Lake cover, the book, and the cover of the Buffalo Lake book. It's the actual book. But I think I talked about the colors of the Siston Redmond, and I used the black and white and red. So you have this, as you can see, that this is, maybe you can't really tell what it is. It looks like kind of looks like a monster. That's the way I turned it into. I designed this myself and made the colors, but using the black, red, and white, and there's gray in there too. But the black, red, and white for the Siston Redmond colors, their high school colors for their teams and stuff. But then I made this is a bison, and which is, people mostly know bison, which is, they call them buffalo, and this is Buffalo Lake. So, but I made the eye red because like a monster, because there's a monster in this book that's a murderer, and so that's what that represents. And I'm looking for that poster that I can hang up there and replace Long Hollow. Then I can talk about this book. So I'm not going to talk about this book yet until I hopefully find that poster. So if you see the podcast video come on and you see that poster up there, I'm going to talk about that. So be aware, that's coming sometime soon. But anyway, Long Hollow's still up there, so we're still talking about it. And I don't know if you remember last time when I had the correction. The correction on a song that I left off the soundtrack that I came up with. Because I make up soundtracks for all my books basically, and I had been talking about the soundtrack, and then I left off the Smoky Mountain Rain song by Ronnie Millsap, and so then I had to add that correction. And today, springboarding, and for you watching, I'm doing some hand gestures like springboarding. For those of you not watching, I have to describe that I'm springboarding using hand gestures. So, speaking of Smoky Mountain Rain, for some reason it just popped into my mind that Smokey Robinson. So I thought, man, I can just go to that and talk about that for the music update, and that's where I wanted to go next. Are people familiar with Smokey Robinson? I think everyone knows Smokey Robinson, but one of the OGs, original gangsters, the OG of Motown. Well, Berry Gordy's obviously he's the actual OG of Motown, but with Motown, I think it's almost synonymous with Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, and then Smokey Robinson. And I thought I'd just maybe talk about him a little bit because he's so interesting to me that, for one thing, his name, well, his real name isn't Smokey, but he was known as Smokey Robinson. And I didn't even know what his real name was, so I looked it up to be able to talk about it today. But his real name was William Robinson Jr. But according to Wikipedia, which you can guarantee that that's right, just bet your life on it, that he got his nickname Smokey because his godfather and his uncle Claude, they were real close, and his uncle used to take him to Western movies and cowboy movies, and so his uncle Claude wanted to give him a cowboy name, so he called him Smokey Joe, which which was later just shortened to Smokey. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. Learning that, if that is true, I hope that's true. It sounds like it has to be true because his name, he's known as Smokey Robinson, and I think it's just like that's so perfect. It's a perfect story, and I really like it because I think at one point, I think I don't know when it was that I can't remember when Derek's birthday was, but I think at one point I wanted to give him a name. I wanted to call him Tex. I wanted to give him a nickname, Tex, and it never took for whatever reason. I guess we just didn't try hard enough to really give him that name, Tex. So Derek, if you ever listen to this, there's still hope we can give you a nickname because I don't know if you have any nicknames, but if you don't and you want it, I wanted to give you a nickname of Tex, and we can make it happen. We can still make it happen, and I hope we do. So let's get out there and get on top of that and get Derek Heitmann, my nephew, now known as Tex. So I I will say that I know Caitlin, my niece, my goddaughter. Derek's not my my godson, but I know Caitlin. She's my goddaughter. She had a nickname for a long time, Beans, and it was just some bizarre. I don't know exactly how she got. I think that one of her classmates renamed her nickname because she was known as KK, but they said that sounds like a baby's name. It's like a child, too childish, so they gave her the nickname of Beans. And I don't know if anybody calls her that still, but we can still call her that if you want, and maybe I will in the future, just to make fun of her because that's a really weird, a weird nickname. Um, But anyway, back to Smokey Robinson. Again, just love that name, Smokey Robinson. I just wanted to mention some of his songs and the fact that he's 85 years old, and according to some of the internet information, he's still performing, and he has dates out there. If he comes to Albuquerque or the area, I'm definitely going to drop what I'm doing and go see him perform. And falsetto, falsetto. That's that's as good as I can do. I'm losing my voice as it is. That's probably just like damaged my vocal cords because Smokey Robinson, the epitome of falsetto from Motown too. I really have a lot of respect for his performance. But even beyond that, I knew that he was a songwriter. He wrote a lot of songs, and give you a little list: 10 songs of his that I have that I came up with. I have in my little library of Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, and then Smokey Robinson songs just on his own. Tracks of my tears. I second that emotion. Tears of a clown. You've really got a hold on me. Shop around. Cruising. Being with you. More love. And some more modern ones. These are probably from the 80s or 90s. Just to see her in one heartbeat. So, I mean, just his own performing, amazing. But I had some songs here I wanted to list that he wrote. And I knew that I I just had to do some research here before this, but I knew that I was pretty sure he had written My Girl, and then I remember that, Mary Wells wanted a song because she really liked the song My Girl by The Temptations, so she asked Smokey Robinson to write a song for her, My Guy. So he did. So he wrote My Guy, and so a couple other Temptation songs that Smokey Robinson wrote, of course, My Girl, The Way You Do the Things You Do, Since I Lost My Baby, and Get Ready. So I mean, that'd be enough right there, right? So, but no, he continues. Mary Wells, My Guy, Two Lovers, The One Who Really Loves You, and You Beat Me to the Punch. I'm not familiar with those songs. My Guy, I know for sure. But Marvin Gaye, 2 songs from Marvin Gaye that are just fantastic in my book. Ain't That Peculiar and I'll Be Doggone. Those are just, I mean, mega hits in my book. And then finally, the Marvelettes, "Don't Mess with Bill." I think if that's the song I'm thinking of, I think that's a pretty good song too. So, Smokey Robinson, he's the musical update today for this podcast, and really admire him and his work, and I'm glad he's still out there. I hope he comes by and I can go see him. So anyway, I think that's it. I got one little thing I heard today I thought was pretty interesting and clever, and I thought I would share. It has to do with TV. And I think it was listening to a little football NFL network on Sirius XM, and this guy had this saying about he was trying to compare it to some of the teams and people complaining about their teams, and he had a quote from his father, and he said his father had told him, he said, "If you want a bigger TV experience, move it to a smaller room." So I thought, oh, that is classic. It's just a matter of this perception of how things are. So you have a big TV and you don't like the way it doesn't seem big enough to you because it's out in your living room. It's a lot bigger. Take that TV, stick it in a bedroom. It's half the size of your living room, and that TV will seem huge. So I think that is so true, and just how your perception works as a human being. And I love that. So I heard that's the first time I ever heard that saying, and I really liked it. So I thought I had to share that today. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, and we don't say goodbye. We say see you next time. And with that, I always like to finish out on a high note, positivity. So stay positive, take action. It's up to you. I put it on you, the listener. Again, I talk about you being the main character, the hero of your own story. I mean, it's up to you. Be positive, be glass half full, be assertive, be positive, be proactive. That's the 3 commandments I put on you at the end of this podcast. And 3 more commandments that I always like to end with is knock and the door will be open to you. Seek and you'll find, ask and you shall be given. So thanks for sharing this special podcast with me. This was, again, the heart of the memoir, The Den, chapter 13. So I just super enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. So have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the NFL games, and we'll see you next time.